But we're not here to discuss me. We're here
No,
to
that's
discuss
okay.
you.
Yeah.
The first time I found you,
Yeah.
you were at, I think it was the milk factory.
Yeah.
There was a lady in charge of that place who was apparently on a grant from the government to run a comedy business.
Oh,
Is that
that's
right?
lucky. I didn't know the government still supported comedy, did they?
But at the show you did
Yeah.
with her,
Yeah.
I spoke to her, and I think that was the case with her. You don't know?
I don't know if there was a government grant, but I do remember talking to you because I remember you were in the middle row, you were in the couch, you were all set up, and I remember that
And
conversation.
Charmaine
as well.
was with me then.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
and you were
was
talking
she?
about karate and the early days of Sit Down Comedy Club in
Oh, yeah.
Brisbane years before. So, yeah, I remember that conversation. Yeah.
And then you came along and because I invited you to participate in the competition
Yeah,
at the Prince of Wales Hotel, and you
Yes.
won.
yeah.
That was pretty
Me
cool.
and the magician.
Yeah. And then because I'd invited the ABC along,
Yeah,
they recorded us and they put you onto the radio as
Yeah.
part of the recording, and then they gave you jobs, didn't they?
that was it. So you're a key part of how I got onto the radio. Yeah, there was a breakfast producer.
Well, just because I arranged the opportunity doesn't mean
Nah, not in
there was 40
not
other
that you
comics.
intended to. Yeah, but just
I like helping people out if I can, but
Yeah,
your
just-
talent got you there.
Yeah, but she was there in the audience and she said, look, we need a guest for panels. They was inviting people along every now and then. They rotate them for a few months in the ABC and then they kind of disappear. But luckily, that stream just kept on going. So then I got, the chance to do other shows and then host a show. They have this sort of internship where they give you a show for 6 weeks and you
Wow.
try not to ruin it. That's your trick. But they put it on a quiet corner of the internet where
Yeah.
not many people will see it. It's like a digital show.
Uh-huh.
And so you're on this digital show. You can do technically whatever you want within ABC limits. So I just set up.
What was it you said earlier before we started recording? You can't do dark stuff or
Yeah,
political
that's not
stuff?
too dark. No, that's not too, yeah, I can't do. Well, that's the thing with the ABC. You can't be politically biased, or you can't, cross the lines with darkness as well. So I think that only because people trust it for news and information. So if they think you've got one side versus another,
Uh-huh.
they lose trust in you and the broadcaster. So yeah, you got to be a little bit careful as a comedian and as a radio presenter.
Well, comedians often get into trouble because they push the boundaries at the very least.
Yes.
Once I used to say that as a comedian, I'm on like the edge of an abyss. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I could fall here, folks. This is dangerous territory.
Yeah.
And then when I went away and spent all that time in Japan and came back to Australia, I looked at the comedy scene and all of the comedians were way out there in the middle of the abyss and there's this big whirlpool and they're all waving,
Yeah.
ah!
So
And I'm like,
It's the Marinara Trench now, isn't it? It's this 14,000 foot dark, cynical, weird place now.
how do you navigate it? I couldn't.
I find it difficult sometimes, but I think ultimately you choose a little bit. You think, am I going to be a boundary pushing jester, or am I going to do what radio offers, which is, hey, I'm going to be an interviewer. I'm going to have really interesting conversations. I'll be a companion to the audience listening. They're two different jobs, and it's very hard to be both because the jester can be fantastic at pushing the boundaries, telling dark truths, being super entertaining, but you don't necessarily want that person in the middle of the night when you're alone and you want to think, right? That's not Jester's time.
That's not why people
No.
tune into the ABC, no.
Then you want companion guy, who's going to just have interesting conversations and be warm and friendly. And so they're two different characters. It's really hard to marry the two.
But you can do and enjoy the dark guy.
Yeah, you can, but it's just time and place.
Yeah.
So when you're in the club, then you can push more. And even then, I'm not super dark, but there are things that I can say in a club that I can't say on radio. But that's just, it's a different environment, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a live audience. It's in the moment. You can set it up. You're not, talking to keep the broadcasting ACMA Board of Association type people.
What's that,
happy.
ACMA?
I'm sorry, the Communication Authority that regulates
Australian
broadcasting.
Communications, blah, blah, blah.
Media
something like
Association.
Ah,
Authority,
yeah,
I
right,
think,
okay.
That regulates what broadcasters can and can't say. And it's there for a reason because millions of people, thousands of people might be listening. Children might be listening.
Yeah.
So they have a different job to do.
Yeah.
In the club, everyone's over 18. They know what they're there for.
And the MC's already told them, well, we could be a little bit inappropriate. Yeah.
So it's a different setting. So you just got to realize that's what life has taught me more recently. We're never just one person. can be a radio version of you, a comedy club version of you, a friends version of you. When I go home and see my parents, I feel like I'm different than I am around my friends.
Oh, you must be, yeah.
Culturally, right? That we grew up in very different worlds. And
True.
so we have to find a way to connect, which is Bollywood movies. Now, I think, sit down, we watch old Bollywood movies, new Bollywood movies.
You mean in your family?
Yeah, me and mum and dad will watch a movie,
Uh-huh.
have curry, bond with. So we don't have the same kind of conversation that, you and I might have at a comedy club or listeners on the ABC might have. So
decided I was going to invest in this and see if it's going to be worthwhile doing. In any case, I'm going to have a great time. I've had a few laughs already with you, so this is good.
Yeah, good.
It's funny you said about the curry because, as you know, I'm not positive I'm Indian in any capacity, but I think I'm about an 8th or a 16th, and I don't know for sure, and I can't find out. But it's like I eat curry, and Mum used to make curry, and Dad used to love curry, and he's white as.
Yeah, curry's in our. I don't know, I love it as well. I can't get over it, but it's hard to cook, isn't it? Do you cook it at home?
I have the capacity to cook it properly, from scratch. I have the recipes that Mum gave me, and I know how to get the spices and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, good.
But I lived in Japan for 23 years. Japanese curry is really yummy.
It's very yummy. It's more peanutty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Japanese food is
sweeter.
Yeah, it's sweeter, and Japanese food is. I feel like they're the French of Asia. Just more classy, slightly classier than the rest of us.
Yeah.
Like, the way they cut, the way they fine dine, the way they use portion control. They're just like a slightly sophisticated. They're our most sophisticated Asian.
They'd like you telling them that too.
But, I think that's just because they just climbed the industrial ladder first, isn't it? They modernised first, industrialised first. So you just got to leap ahead in lots of different ways. And
I know a little bit about what you're talking about and why it occurred, and it's interesting actually.
Yeah.
Because they weren't allowed to be military anymore.
Right.
They got bombed, and then America went in and said, "Okay, we're going to give you a constitution."
Yeah.
So they didn't have they've got a peacekeeping corps, but they're not allowed to have guns.
Right.
And so they didn't have any military industrial complex to pay for. So all of that technology, capacity, ability, all went into industrialisation.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't have to spend any money on warfare.
No, because they were under the American umbrella for protection if they needed it.
And that meant that the ethos of the samurai went into running businesses. You've seen Rising Sun, the film?
That's not one where
Sean
Tom
Connery?
Cruise is the samurai?
No, that's the Last Samurai.
Oh, the Last Samurai, okay, yeah.
Sean Connery
Right.
was an expert on Japan in the film. And he talks, and it's a book written by Michael Crichton.
Yeah.
And he talks about this section that this character says to the Japanese, business is war.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. They just took the war aspect of their life and aimed it into businesses.
Yeah.
And they've got what are called zaibatsus. But anyway, we're not here to discuss Japan. We're here to discuss you.
But on this, I would say there was always one kid in every high school who would have the Bushido code. He'd always be a white kid with the Bushido code. And he would do forward rolls all the time. And he was always the most interesting guy.
And they all hung out with me in Japan. I'm like looking at him going, really, dude?
Yeah. So
they've got Japanese kanji tattooed here. And
yeah.
I don't even know what it means sometimes.
No, but there's always one in every school. So yeah, I'm sure the Bushido code has a place. But I just remember Tim used to just forward roll everywhere. He wouldn't walk. He would just spin places.
It's not too different in essence from the chivalric code. You know, I know that the people say that India doesn't have martial arts. It's complete rubbish.
Lots of it, yeah.
Yeah, and they have a similar code as well, because the warrior in any human culture knows about war in order to protect peace.
Yeah. And
that's the only reason for it. It's called self-defense because you're defending yourself or those who are part of yourself. And, you know, next week I'm having I don't know if you know him, there's a new comic guy who used to be a wrestler, judo guy,
No.
Joe Saunders, I think his name is.
Okay.
But I met him on the circuit a little while ago, and I've convinced him to come along for number 2 podcast.
Yeah.
By the way, what do you think? We've got to have a name for this podcast.
Well, what's the theme of it? What are you trying to get out of it?
Oh, I'm just trying to interview people and learn how to interview people at the moment.
Yeah, well, you're in this basement of dens, like record labels, there's vinyl, the vinyl room, something with vinyl.
Uh-huh.
You could talk about the place rather than the podcast.
I used to have, when I first started out in Brisbane, trying to start a stand-up comedy club before Sit Down started, the name I had was the House of Comedy.
Yeah.
And I was going to call this the basement under the House of Comedy.
Basement under the House of Comedy. I like, yeah.
Another one I came up with was, because I wanted to have a mocktail bar,
Yeah.
a dry bar,
Yeah.
so people could like have drinks but not get drunk.
Yeah.
And I was going to call it Wordsmiths at the Mocktail Bar.
Yeah.
But I was looking for some ideas, and yeah, using the records is a good idea.
Burn table. Like
Burn table.
comedy burns, turntables, I don't know.
Yeah, I like burn table. That's good. I think I might steal that off
People
you.
would have to see the vinyl though, and the camera. This would have to be made of vinyl.
Well, I'll get Liam, the videographer, to take some shots of that when we're finished and
Yeah.
insert that in this piece here.
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to have a great time video editing.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else did I want to chat with you about? The ABC, that's right, yeah. So these days you're still occasionally on it?
Yeah, I'm a fill-in presenter, so just when they need me on usually weekends or evenings.
And what sort of rate would that be at in terms of time? How many?
Usually if it's a weekend show, it's 6 hours. It's 6 a.m. till midday.
Yeah.
And if it's an evening show, it's 7 p.m. till 10 p.m.
And how many times a month?
It depends on when people get sick. So
All right, you
Yeah.
literally fill in for
Fill
the sick
in.
person.
sick person or the leave person, they need leave for whatever reason.
Someone was about to have a baby, so you get
I'm in.
2 months or 3 months
That's
of...
my time. Yeah, or Christmas. They go away at Christmas and then I'm covering over Christmas.
All right, so this year at Christmas time, if we're listening to the ABC,
Probably.
what's the broadcast channel?
6:12 a.m.
6:12 a.m. Okay,
Yeah.
pay attention.
Yeah,
Do you,
exactly.
because when I rang you, it was the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I've just bought this BMW second hand, and I'm trying to figure out the radio in it, and then I'm like, "That's Ashwin Segkar on the radio." What? And it was a ring in. I was allowed to ring
yeah.
in, and I'm like, "Really? Oh, okay."
That's
Hey,
really-
Ashwin.
I love it when people I know call because it feels like I'm at home. It's just
Yeah.
really familiar.
It makes you feel better to. Oh, I keep doing that.
Yeah. It makes
You-
it feel easy. What did you call about that day?
It was the thing, I think it was 20 hours of doing something and you have mastered it enough,
Oh.
you said.
Not
Some-
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours,
Yeah,
was it?
10,000. Yeah, how fast are you? 20 hours of.
Well, there's a guy on
Karate,
a video on YouTube who says, like, if you practice a ukulele for 20 hours,
Yeah.
you're good enough.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
And we were discussing, you were discussing that principle, whatever it was, however many hours it was. And I was like, well, if you count up how long you're on stage as a comic,
Yeah.
because that's where you learn.
Mm.
Because it doesn't matter how funny you think the joke is. You can go on stage and you've
Yeah.
done it before, haven't you?
Yeah, lots of
You've
times.
gone, oh, this is great. I'm going to do this. It's going to kill.
Yeah,
And you go out there and it's like crickets.
lots of times.
I had this joke when my kids were born.
Yeah.
When my oldest son was about to be born, and I thought it was really funny. And I usually gave myself 3 chances with a joke to see if it worked. And it didn't work. And I was like, this is a funny joke. I'm sure of it. And I did it again. It didn't work. And I'm like, this is frustrating. And the third time I went to do it, I accidentally said it the other way around. There's the laugh.
Ah.
I had the setup and the punch reversed.
Oh, that's unusual because normally it's really clear. This is the punch. This is the setup.
Mm.
But in this one, it must have been ambiguous.
Well, the time frame was 1989.
Mm.
I just married a Japanese girl.
Yeah.
In the paper, there was all of these stories about Daikyo Corporation had bought up so many resorts in Queensland that we're now a colony of Japan.
Mm.
So I went on stage and I said, the way I said it and eventually was, I married a Japanese girl. I consider myself a true Queenslander. But I said it the other way around. I consider myself a true Queenslander. I married a Japanese girl
Yeah.
twice and then accidentally said it the right way.
Yeah.
And it is ambiguous which one was the setup there.
Yes. But you're right because I feel like the married a Japanese girl is slightly edgier and riskier. So I feel like when that goes second, it just gets them a bit
That's
more.
actually what I wanted to chat with you about.
Yeah.
Because you're a beige guy, a brown guy
Yeah.
in a white guy society,
Yeah.
right? And I remember once you're standing beside some picture of an Indian fakir or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And it was like a post on
Yeah.
Facebook, and I'm like,
I found
you can do that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we get certain privileges.
Yeah. Do you find sometimes that even though it is funny,
Yeah.
the audience will hold back from laughing
Yeah.
because of that?
Yeah, I think so. Because other people are in the room and
Are they like, oh, I'm not sure I'm allowed to laugh at that?
yeah.
Oh,
Remember that movie American History X? Did you ever watch that?
I may have, yeah.
It's where Edward Norton is a Nazi.
Oh, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so Edward Norton's a Nazi and he's really violent towards any black person in town, and he hates them, and he goes to jail, and he's in with a black cellmate in the kitchen on the laundry. They're sweeping together, and he hates him, and he's not talking. He's just keeping entirely to himself. But the cellmate that he's with is really funny, and he's cracking one-liners, and then they're in this one final scene where Edward Norton's with him, and they've sort of got a slight trust between each other, and then the black cellmate cracks a joke, and you see Edward Norton's stone face, and then he cracks a joke, and you see this almost half smile appear on Edward Norton's face. The black guy sees that. He cracks another joke, and he cracks one more, and then Edward just can't hold it anymore. He cracks up. He was laughing. It was almost like a drip torture effect. He was holding it, and he was holding it, and he was holding it, but he just couldn't resist it anymore.
And the dam broke.
Then the dam broke, and then they were best mates. And then he said to the guy, when you get out of prison, make sure you look me up. And then after he came out of prison, and he's completely anti-racist now. His brother wants to be a Nazi. He's trying to talk him out of it. And don't be stupid like me. Get out of that. But it was humour that kind of flipped them over and brought that humanity between the two.
I think it does. Yeah, it's a very good weapon like that.
It does. Yeah, but he had to push. He got that first resistance, and then to keep pushing and keep pushing. And that's where comedians sometimes have to be quite brave, because they know they're on the right path. They know they're just being satirical. But if they back away at the first time, it's over. So they have to have that character that is able to keep pushing. And then they enter this whole new world, right, where the Nazi and the black guy are best friends. Like, that's what a comedian can do at their best, is like enter this whole new world.
The breakdown of the divide that is between races,
Yeah.
that some sectors of our society try to keep.
Yeah.
That's a valuable aspect of comedy. Yeah, it is.
And I feel fortunate on the ABC. I only get to do it in a small way, but when I'm on air, I'm always talking about cultural things that I grew up with, often Indian things, because
that's what I wanted to find out, because I know you grew up in New Zealand.
Yeah, left India when I was 1, and then
You were 1.
I was 1 when we left. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you said I left then, and I was like, all by yourself.
Oh, myself. Yeah, swam away.
I ran away from home when I was 1.
Yeah.
Swam across the
Swam,
Indian Ocean, got to Perth,
landed in
and
Turkey.
jumped the country, went over to New Zealand.
Yeah, waited in line, got on a boat.
So your parents took you, you only one child? Brothers and
I have an
sisters?
older brother, 2 years older.
Uh-huh.
He still had a slight Indian accent, which he denies because he was a bit
My grandma, when she talked to her
yeah.
cousin, they always talk like this.
So didn't he? Well, my brother couldn't pronounce the difference. He couldn't distinguish between V's and W's, which is a very Indian thing.
Very.
Like he always used to say very much, or instead of like Valyama is auntie Valyama, but he would always say Wellama, and he just couldn't do the VW thing, which is a very characteristic Indian issue.
Yes.
Took him a while, but now he can. But it took him a while.
The S becoming SH as well.
In some words, like sa and sha, because that's a syllable sha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a shop that's a chain store.
Yeah.
Swadesh.
Swadesh, yeah.
But it's Swades.
Swade.
In English, it's spelt Swades.
Yeah.
But it's pronounced Swadesh.
Yeah, independence. Like Swa is self and Desh is country.
All right,
so
okay.
These two words coming together, but it becomes Swades in England. Yeah.
Yeah, I was delivering for an Indian importer
Yeah.
for a while, and I'd have to deliver to their stores. And then one of the guy I was stereotyping was working as a stores guy.
Yeah.
He was so white Australian and just like, wow, I used to parody you.
Yeah. Welcome to Swades, mate.
That's what he called it. I was like, what are you talking about? It's called Swadesh. No, look, read it. Swades.
But if you crack the code, like if you said Swadesh, he would automatically have a really good feeling towards you, because you think, oh, this guy gets me. Like when I'm on air sometimes and someone will say Ashwin instead of Ashwin. I've always said Ashwin because I got used to it, but the official
I've been calling you
Ashwin.
Right, I've been calling you Ashwin.
Yeah, like
Ashwin.
Ashwin. That's.
I will correct my behaviour.
No, I'm just saying that's proper Indian. So when someone says that, I'm going, they're trying to connect them. They're trying to do it properly.
When I did street performing in Japan,
Yeah.
I would find people from all over the world, and they'd come and visit Japan.
Yeah.
And they'd see this white guy doing a show, so they'd try to talk to me, and I'd find out how to say thank you in every language I could.
Yeah.
And now when I like go to the Vietnamese bakery, I say gammon,
Yeah.
which is thank you, and like the looks that you get from people when you can say thank you in their own language is just pleasing.
Yeah. People like it when you make a little effort.
Yeah. And when someone says Ashwin instead of Ashwin, you feel they've made that effort.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a community-based enterprise. It's someone trying to make community with you.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you're from.
Yeah, they're reaching out a little bit. That's cool.
So how much of your Indian heritage do you know about?
In terms of my lineage, this is the sad part. I can only go back to my great-grandmother. And I'd love to know, like, my ancient Indian martial arts samurai ancestor, from 2000 BC with the colory outfit on, running around Kerala. But lineage-wise, only 3 or 4 generations, which is sad.
And what area in India is it?
Kerala.
So that's where the guys from the Times International, where I worked, are from.
Oh, right, okay.
They sold a lot of Kerala food, and I was talking, and I was like, what did you say?
Yeah.
I learned how to say no or something once because I hear them saying it all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my part of the world. But culturally, I left when I was 1, so I ended up not very Indian.
So you were acculturated to New Zealand. And
and England,
And England?
6 years in England, 1 year in Melbourne, lots of years in New Zealand, 1 year in Malaysia.
Okay, so you go from India to New Zealand.
England first, at the age of 1.
India to England?
Yeah.
At 1?
At 1.
And your mother and father are speaking to you in
Malayalam at home, which they still do.
Yeah.
And I often answer back in English, which is why my Malayalam isn't as good as it should be. I can speak it to an okay level.
Because it's regional Indian. It's not Hindi.
No, Hindi's a North Indian language, whereas Malayalam comes from Dravidian, like the southern nature. So if you think of India as this like cup triangle, people walked out of Africa. And 60,000, 7,000 years ago, they arrived here. There was a first group. They speak the indigenous languages of India.
Right.
Then there was another group, maybe from Iran, 8,000 BC. Dravidians.
Dravidians.
So they speak Tamil. Now it became Tamil, Malayalam, all these southern Indian languages.
Right.
Then a third group came like 1500 BC. They speak, they're called Caucasus mountain people.
Yeah, they're the whiter ones.
The whiter ones.
Yeah.
So they speak.
So you got the dark ones, that you, and then people like me.
People like you, the Caucasus people. So they speak Hindi, and it's Sanskrit is from the north. So there's Tamil, the the original southern language, Sanskrit, the original northern language. So that's why the languages are really different. And they've got different characters to them. They can almost turn you into a different person, which I was researching. So Malayalam, the words are often spoken very fast, and one word contains a lot of meaning. Like if you want to say past tense, future tense, present tense, I did it, I am doing it. It's all tacked onto the end of the word.
Yeah.
One word. So there's a lot of information in one word. So it almost makes you feel like integrated. I'm connected with everything. Whereas Hindi and English, I will go, I did go. You create separate words.
Compound verbs.
Compound verbs in Hindi, plus lots of will, have. So it's just lots. It's more analytical. X plus Y plus Z equals meaning. Yeah. And so the Hindi mind and the English mind might be a bit more analytical, and the Southern mind might be a little bit more holistic and integrated. And you see that coming out in the spirituality, the nature of the people. So I'm stretching a little bit, but it's weird that language is like that. Yeah.
All right. So in England, you were at where were you in England?
Jersey, Bradford, and Reading were our 3 spots.
Jersey is an island.
Little island, yeah. I don't think you can even move there anymore. It's very hard.
There's 2. There's Guernsey and Jersey.
Guernsey and Jersey, yeah.
And they're just in the between the. Are they between France?
I feel like they should be part of France. Yeah, somehow England's got them, which is an English thing to do. But
how racist of you!
Yeah, exactly. Back then, not all English people, but back then.
I have had discussions with people. I had a discussion with a Pakistani guy in Japan one day, and he was saying the British came with guns and on their ships. I went, there were pirates on the ocean. They were trading. They didn't want to lose the gold they brought or the goods they bought.
Yeah, they started out so innocent. Hey, we just want to buy some of your stuff. We'll just set up this little shop here.
I did tell you about my granddad and Mahatma Gandhi,
He was a police officer, right?
So it's like, not all British guys are really bad.
No.
I mean, no one listening to this podcast knows this story, so I don't think you know it either, do you, Lemon? So my granddad was the sergeant at the Bombay police station during the R&R days of World War II. And, well, I'm talking to you. I've already introduced you. Liam is my videographer. He's doing the job. So in the time when Mahatma Gandhi was trying to bring a pacifist rebellion, there were people that wanted a violent revolution, and they wanted to kill Mahatma Gandhi. My granddad put him in the jail cell in the Bombay police station. So to all the Indian people, I say, you're welcome on behalf of my granddad. He was British.
Yeah, I would love to have been there during that time.
I've got videos of some of the stuff from Granddad taking Super 8 camera and my
I'd
little
love
brother.
to see that, yeah.
Oh, in one of my desks somewhere.
Check that out. Yeah, and I think the British also they helped to modernise India.
It's sort of like the Monty Python sketch,
Yeah.
where the Jews are saying, what have the Romans given us? Besides sanitation, irrigation, roads.
Yeah.
But
But the counter to that is, which the Indians will say is, when the Mughal Empire collapsed, the Maratha Empire, which is a native Indian empire, arose and had beaten the Mughals, and we could have taken our countries back in 1700, modernised it ourselves the way Japan went through the Meiji Restoration. We could have had a Meiji Restoration in India and done all the things we needed to, but the British came all so good at divide and rule, divide and conquer, that they took over, and the modernisation they gave was very much in their favour, which was a lot of plunder, a lot of extraction, cutting down the textile industry, taking it to Manchester, which is not what the Marathas would have done. They would have kept the modernisation in India. So it might have worked out differently. You'll never know because we can't turn the clock back.
No.
But that's what they might say. It was, hypothetical.
It is. You used the Japanese as an analogy, and I'm like, we just talked about the fact that they didn't have a war machine. So and once you start to use that side of the industrial complex, you can't really spend that much money on that anymore. You're using that to protect that, which is weird. And it's like, can't we all just get on? What's that Tim Minchin song? You guys eat pork. No, you guys don't eat pork. We don't eat pork. Can't we just all not eat pork together?
It's a beautiful thought.
Do you have any food restrictions because of your cultural background or not?
Oysters? That's just because I hate oysters. I really can't stand oysters.
So you eat beef?
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, I do. I don't have any food restrictions.
Do your family and background-wise, they don't?
Partly because we left India at 1 and we're not very strict, but still beef doesn't turn up in our house very often. It's just
So you don't really come from a religious family?
No. Mum's got the deities at home.
Right. So she's a nominal religious
Nominal,
person.
I would say. I think Dad's are more scientifically oriented. But Hinduism's an interesting religion, right? You can just do a bit of yoga and now you're Hindu, right? You don't have to believe in a god or anything.
Which one of the gods do you want to believe in?
Exactly, yeah.
How many is there? Something like 1,007 or something?
I would say more than that. There's probably hundreds. Someone said millions. I can't understand how we got to millions.
There's elephant-headed ones. There's multiple armed ones.
But then again, this comes down to what India is. Every local tribe had their own god. That's why we have so many. So when Hinduism came along, it was just a union of all these views that said, oh, your local god, that's just an incarnation of Shiva.
Yeah, Christians did that too.
They did the same thing. Oh, your local god.
Saturnalia is the winter solstice festival.
Yeah, it was just digesting, right?
Yeah.
So they digested the country under Hinduism. That's why there's all these separate gods, because India was a very fertile place with lots of tribes with their own local gods.
I was astonished when I was there for 10 days, I think. And I read in the paper that some Hindus had killed a Muslim who was holding a bag of red meat, which in the end turned out to be lamb. And I was like, okay.
That's humans at their worst. Just bigots.
Every culture has it.
Yeah.
You know, Japan, some of the things, like I'm a white guy in Japan, so of course I bombed their country. Yeah. So when you spark the hatred, like it's full force. Yeah. And I think my sons and my daughter probably have been somewhat affected by it. I'm not sure, but not until I understood the language and what was going on around me did I see it.
So did you get passive aggressive hate?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I understand the term passive aggressive.
Well, they didn't abuse you to your face, but you could tell that there was some hostility there.
One of the things, because people use psychological terms, that's a term from psychiatry and psychology, and I'm like, it's sort of like saying one thing and then saying its opposite, and it doesn't make sense to say that. There's a better term, I think, covert hostility.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like it's literally hostile, but it's covert. It's kept undercover.
Yeah.
It's not passive at all.
Yeah.
It's quite aggressive and hate-filled, but it's only, like we just said, there's only some people in any culture that are the ones to watch out for. I think I remember someone said 80% of our problems are caused by 20% of the people.
Yeah. Pareto principle, right? It's everyone.
That one, that's another version of it,
Yeah. And so, and I think this might get worse, though, because I was reading a study, maybe this has to be fact-checked afterwards, IQ is dropping 1 point every 2 years. And so in 75 years, the average human IQ will be 60, which is going to be a very, if everyone has an average IQ of 60, that's going to be a problem for society if we don't turn back.
The thing about IQ scores, and I say scores, I don't mean IQ.
Yeah.
Because the scores are based on a test that you have to read and understand the questions and then answer them correctly.
Yeah.
And it's timed, right? So the actual expression of your intelligence is how well you can understand a problem and how well you can solve it and how quickly you can. And that's a skill that is demonstrable in life.
Yeah.
How well do you solve the problems of life?
Yeah.
But the score that you get in an IQ score is based on how well you read.
Yeah, okay.
In a marked degree.
Yeah.
And there are people who are fabulous and intelligent, can't read. There are people who have, not enough care to pay attention that it says on instead of no.
Yeah.
And they get labelled as dyslexic.
That's true, yeah.
And it's like, well, teach them to sit down and pay attention. Don't give them drugs to...
Yeah.
It's some of the things that I've seen with psychiatry and psychology. It's like lately some psychiatrists are starting to understand if you feed more protein foods to people who are having all of these different issues, like, for example, ADD and ADHD and these things, feeding the kids protein solves the problem.
Yeah.
They don't need drugs. It's like they're using the proper fuel source for their body. And anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm not as familiar with that side of the research, but I do know that when it comes to lateral thinking people, ADHD brain, the lateral brain, often those people can feel stupid because at school they don't fit into the school system. And that's maybe when they become comedians is the one time.
Are you saying we're all comedians? All of the comedians are ADD?
There's definitely
just most of them are underdiagnosed.
Because you can't use that skill in bookkeeping.
True.
But you can use it in a dick joke, right? Or a dirty joke.
I remember when I sat the public service exam for New South Wales public service, and I got 2 A's and a B for the English, an A for English comprehension, a B for English grammar, an A for arithmetic or maths or whatever it was. Yeah. And then for what I thought was the most important aspect of a person's abilities, to get a clerical position, which is the only positions available as a beginning public servant, clerical speed and accuracy, I got an E.
Oh.
Right, which is basically,
that's not good for bureaucracy.
No, but the weird part about this, here I am thinking, oh, no, I'm going to get a job now.
Yeah. But you did?
Not only did I get a job, they offered me my choice of 3.
Okay.
The joke I used to do was, this is not a workplace, this is a sheltered workshop.
Yeah.
They're just helping me get better at what I can't do.
Yeah.
And the first job they gave me, 5 pages of figures to add up and make sure that they tallied.
Oh, gosh.
And I got 5 tries at it, and I kept getting a different number.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't do this.
No, but you could perform it as a song.
True. I gave it to my boss, and he tried to do it, and he got 1 cent out.
Yeah.
He said, oh, that's close enough. And I went, really?
Yeah. Everyone's just got to find their place in the world. And
they do.
I think we're slowly finding ours.
Well, you're doing a great job. I mean, with the ABC and what I've seen of your comedy, because when I saw you, I was like, oh, he's good. And you are. There's a reason you won the competition.
Yeah, thank you. not even just comedy. I like interviewing people. What you're doing right now,
Mm-hmm.
I think is my favorite thing to do. Is just talk to people, have chats.
Mm-hmm.
I just find that's my place. Maybe it's just to have conversations with people.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I mean, you and I sitting here, just chatting, we learn little things from this that we
Yeah.
take away, and that goes out into the world because we understand something better. And anyone that actually pays attention, I don't know if 3 or 4 people that'll pay the attention to this podcast.
yeah, that's all you need.
That is all right.
Yeah.
So, Door 84.
Yeah, what is that a club, right?
That's where Julio.
Julio's club,
Yes,
right?
that's where I saw you one time.
Yeah,
I came in to see you because I found out on Facebook that that's what you were doing.
yeah,
So you've been there a few times now.
Yeah.
I've seen you in a few.
yeah.
And do you know what's happening with it?
I don't think it's going anymore.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So when you first started out as
Yeah.
a comic, if someone wanted to become a comic now,
yeah.
what sort of advice could you give them?
I guess it's got to suit your personality because some people just say just get on stage and work it out on stage. And
Yeah,
if
but
that's
where?
You, oh, where?
Yeah. Here in Brisbane, if a stand-up comic a person wanted to begin being a stand-up comic here,
Yeah.
how would he go about it?
What's Liam's room called? Do you know the name?
Oh, right, yeah, I know. I've done one of them, the Mill or something like that.
Yeah, Bloodhound Gang. I forgot. Sorry, Liam. I just forgotten the name. Hoo-ha. Sorry.
I'll tag him when I put this video
Yeah.
on Facebook. And
Liam Daly. Look up Liam Daly. He's got a couple of rooms as a
Uh-huh.
comedian. Liam
Yeah.
Daly comedian. And Julio sometimes has rooms.
Yeah, he gets paid gigs for comics too.
Sometimes, yeah.
You're getting paid gigs these days, aren't
Sometimes, yeah.
you? Have you worked for Sit Down yet?
Yeah, done some paid gigs there
At the Paddo Tavern?
at the Paddo, yeah.
Cool.
And sometimes they'll send you out to like RSL clubs and things
Yeah.
that they're doing spots at.
Well done.
Yeah, that's fun too. But sometimes the open mic is the most fun because you just get to try a new joke. You get to test out your idea. And that's probably the most fun part of comedy is just seeing if this works or not.
Oh, yeah, like the other day with the Boomer thing,
Yeah,
I was like having to think on my feet. I
Yeah.
didn't have to work parrot fashion.
yeah,
Right? I had to okay, now I'm adjusting this joke because I can't do it. So I have to fit this other joke in. And it made my mind operate on creating
yes.
rather than repeating.
Yeah, that's more spontaneous.
Yeah, and I came up with 10 minutes after the show. When I broke up with my wife, I thought my children were old enough, but my 25-year-old son says, I'm too old to come from a broken home. And I pointed out that his little sister came from a broken condom.
Yeah.
I'm went around because I'm delivering from Mercedes at the moment. Everyone knows that I've been doing this comedy competition. So I go in, I've got this new joke. And they're always eager to listen to it.
Yeah.
They like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That work, and especially in they're like drunken, boozy,
Yeah,
fun.
and it's on the
comedy room.
edge
Yeah.
of inappropriate.
Yeah.
It's on that abyss.
Yeah.
It's right there looking deep into the abyss. It's not a joke that's, a dick joke.
Yeah.
It's close to being
And there's a bit of
dick joke.
truth in it, so you get away with it.
Well,
as
there's actually a lot of truth
lot
in
of
that
truth in
joke. Don't think my daughter wants to see
No.
that.
But, and what you just said about the 10 minutes when you had to come up with a new joke on the spot, I think that's partly why I even prefer radio sometimes to comedy, because comedy is much about reciting your material,
Yeah.
plus a bit of play when you get the chance.
The play gets you to the position where you can recite it.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's so much fun.
yeah.
Repeating it is because you have to memorize the script for this 5-minute show.
Yeah.
It's how many times do I have to say this?
Yeah, and it's a bit like that. Whereas in radio, the way I do it anyway is much more spontaneous. It's just, let's turn on the mic. Here's the guest that I've got coming up. Here's kind of something that's just come to me. Let me just have a connecting moment with the audience. Just tell a story or play a game with them.
I was
or
listening to
fun.
Greg Sullivan doing exactly that when Campbell Newman was digging the tunnels
Yeah.
or paying for the tunnels to be dug.
Yeah,
And he said, Greg Sullivan's on B105.
Yeah.
And the three of them are talking with Campbell Newman about digging tunnels all through Brisbane.
yeah,
And he said to Campbell Newman, so Rome's not going to be the only holy city in the world then. And I'm like, that was off the cuff.
yeah.
He's good like that.
He's very good, and the audience loves that.
I bought his first joke that he sold.
I didn't know he sold jokes.
Well,
I mean, he wrote for people, you mean?
yeah. Well, his first joke that he sold to anyone,
Yeah.
I explained to him how you sell jokes.
Okay, yeah.
And I said, I want to use this
Yeah,
joke.
okay.
he was staying overnight.
Mm.
He'd come down on the bus from Dalby,
Yeah.
do the thing for the open mic night at the Sit Down Comedy Club in Dockside,
Yeah.
and then stay up all night and catch the bus home in the morning.
Oh, what a mission.
He was really keen
Yeah.
for the work,
Yeah.
and he's really good at his
Very
job.
good. Yeah.
You know,
Just a natural dark soul. Good
Yeah.
dark soul with a bit of like a Buddhist twist, right? There's some depth there, which is probably true of lots of dark people. There's a lot of depth there.
you can't be deep without going dark,
Mm.
because that's what happens. Like if you go in the abyss, right? It's dark
Yeah.
in there. There's no light.
Yeah.
It penetrates. It's heavy.
Yeah.
It's squashy. It's not nice.
That's right.
But the only people that have the guts to go there,
yeah.
or the misfortune to go there,
Yeah.
and rise again,
Yeah.
can see it for what it is
Yeah.
because they survive it.
Like that Kafka idea, right? If you reflect on life
As in
enough,
metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis. It's ugly and absurd and mundane, and so if you think too much about life, it's not footy games and cheering and partying. It's just
It is for a lot of people, though.
It can be if you can. That's just distracting. That's bread and circuses.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Whereas, yeah,
I,
but that,
I know that I'm losing audience members
yeah,
when I start to belittle that,
yeah,
but sometimes I feel compelled to. I'm like, can't these people? What is this?
yeah. I just think horses for courses. But
Yep.
if you are a thoughtful person, that's not going to work for you, and you're going to have to reflect on life and maybe be a bit sadder or get used to it, or have a meditation tradition where you can separate yourself from the sad thoughts. Something has to go on, otherwise it'll take over, I guess. So yeah, it's not an easy position for people in that spot, but
Yeah, I
but
think it
author-
was
yeah.
Charles Bukowski.
Mm.
He said that he's never met an intelligent person that wasn't sad or something like that.
Yeah, and I love the way he would write. Right, no pretense, just blunt, straight. And sometimes I will force myself to write like a certain person because I teach.
Good idea.
I teach people interviewing skills, conversation skills.
That's one of the things I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but one of the exercises is just pretend you're Charles Bukowski and write in a Bukowski way, real bitter. Describe this room in a Bukowski way, right? Or then describe this room in a flowing, poetic, dreamy way, and just see what it's like to speak in those two different voices. Just get used to different voices that are different from your own.
Yep. Actors have to do it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish up.
Yeah.
So I've got a present for you. There's a couple of presents for you, actually.
Yeah. Thank you. These are nice, bright, happy. Talking about darkness.
Yes.
These are bright, happy colours to bring it all back again. I wonder what it would feel like to be normal.
That one was given to me in terms of the thing to write on the T-shirt.
Yeah.
By a friend of mine. I said, what would you like on a T-shirt? Because she helped me set up the screen printing.
Oh, yeah.
Because she'd done some T-shirts before.
Yeah.
And that one was an idea I came up with. I'm actually wearing the same one.
Yeah, nice.
So there's
Aussie
this,
green and gold.
yeah.
Very
I
patriotic
didn't think of
t-shirts.
that. I was just pulling it out of the stockpile that I have because
Yeah.
I sat down and made all of these different
You're a
T-shirts.
subconscious patriot.
There you go. Didn't even know it.
No. Thanks for having me on this podcast.
Mate, I'm glad you came along.
It was actually wonderful to touch on authors and Indian martial arts. And I didn't know about Japan, where that kind of industriousness came from. So
Oh, right, yeah.
it's been good.
Well, the samurai ethos is
Yeah.
diligence.
Yeah.
And the Last Samurai, as you mentioned, with
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, is actually based on a true story. And what that story says really did happen.
Yeah.
The samurai lost to the military-industrial complex because guns beat swords.
Yeah.
And so the samurai could no longer win wars with the people who wanted to take charge. But they could become merchants, they could become business operators, and they could still create clan-based hierarchies,
Right.
and they could still run
Have an
stuff.
empire in a different
Oh,
way. Yeah.
And it's when you get, like, I spent 23 years there
Yeah.
doing entertainment. That was something I had to learn when I was, I don't know, your age. How old are you now?
Now I'm old, 45.
Oh, yeah. Wow, you don't look that. I wish I could say that about myself.
Yeah.
I was 32. What?
Yeah.
No, I was 30 when I went to Japan. And when I was about 45, so about your age, I was working in this 800-seat restaurant, table hopping, giving balloon animals to kids, telling jokes, doing magic tricks, just chatting with people who were regulars. Because like I'd go past them with my bag of stuff, and I'd see them, and they're regulars, and I'd be like, "Haven't you got a home to go to?" You know, just keeping them company.
Yeah.
And one guy, he said, "I want you to come to entertain my friends and our girlfriends." And we're in the presidential suite at the Westin.
Yeah.
And he gives me $700 to entertain him for an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's the sort of guy I was like, he's got this corporation underneath him. His friend used to go to play, I think it was backgammon, I'm not sure, or cards or something, poker or something. He'd just go to America and win.
Yeah.
Because he's really good at gambling.
Yeah.
And that's how he made a living. I'm like, okay, this is like, no matter what culture you're in, there are these people, and then there are the rest.
There's us,
Well, I don't know. I think you're intelligent enough and resourceful enough to have a little corporation underneath you, aren't you?
I'm a little empire. I'll see where the radio goes and the speaking training goes. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Teaching
So
people
if
that
someone
and
wanted to get you to do speaking training with them, what do they do?
Yeah, so they can look me up, just Ashwin Segkar on LinkedIn, probably the easiest way to get in touch for that kind of work. But I'm on all the socials.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's Ashwin.
Ashwin, ASHWIN, and Segkar is SEGKAR.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right.